Today I'm going to be comparing two of the most anticipated running shoes of 2024, or at least to me, the Brix Glycerin Max versus the Asics Superblast 2. And I think after running in both of these, the answer will surprise you. Let's get right into it. So starting out with both of the outsoles, I do have full reviews of both of these shoes in depth. So make sure you go check out my channel if you're more curious about the specific details of each shoe. I'm gonna go over kind of like a basic overview of each part of the shoe and compare the two and say which one I like more. So that's gonna be the purpose of this video. So starting out with the outsole, as you can see on the Brix Glycerin Max, we have these squiggly lines. I would say that the rubber on the outsole of the Brix Glycerin Max is a little bit softer than the Asics grip on the Asics Superblast 2. As you guys can probably tell for both of these shoes, the Brix Glycerin Max looks like it has a little bit more coverage, at least with the black outsole part of the shoe. And I think that honestly, it's pretty similar, the performance, at least from a traction point of view. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that I ran in both of these shoes in both dry weather conditions as well as on the road. So I'm comparing the performance of these two in those weather conditions. So keep that in mind. If you guys run in rainy conditions or different conditions like snow or, on the trails, this review might not be for you guys. But on the roads in dry weather conditions, both of these outsoles performed excellent. I would say that they're pretty on par, and I wouldn't say that one is necessarily a lot better than the other. If I did have to give a slight edge to just the traction performance alone, I would say that the Brix Glycerin Max was maybe a smidge better than the Asics grip on the Asics Superblast 2, just because I felt that the rubber compound on the Brix Glycerin Max was a little bit softer, and I felt that especially in the heat, the rubber outsole got even softer and it really stuck to the road while I was running. Other than that though, if you're running in normal conditions, I feel like both outsoles are gonna do just fine. Now, speaking on durability of both of these outsoles, this is the part where, it's kind of a take it for what you will, but I have about 25 miles or a little bit over 25 miles in both of these shoes. And I would say that the Asics grip on the Asics Superblast 2, at least the etchings on the rubber outsole are starting to wear down a touch. Now, it's nothing too concerning. I would say that it's pretty normal wear and tear, but with the Brix Glycerin Max, I noticed that the etchings are 100% still there all throughout the outsole. So I would say that the Brix Glycerin Max maybe edges out just a smidge over the Asics Superblast 2 when it comes to durability, at least from an outsole perspective. Now, again, this is not a super scientific test. We'll see, I guess, as the miles pile up on both of these, but I've heard really good things about the durability on the Superblast 2, so I don't think durability of the outsoles on both of these is a question, or I don't think it's too big of a deal for both of them. I think both of them are gonna last quite a long time. Now, moving on to the main event of this comparison, which is the cushioning. Now, the reason why both of these shoes are $200 is that they are super highly stacked premium foam daily trainers. And I know that's a mouthful, and it's kind of a new subcategory of running shoes, or at least to me it is, where brands are putting kind of their most premium foams in a super high stack with no plate so that you can kind of daily train in really comfortable shoes, which takes care of your body as well as still trains the muscles that you need to in your foot as well as your calves. How did these two perform? So I recently just reviewed the Brix Glycerin Max and I really thoroughly enjoyed running in this shoe. I thought that it picked up the pace pretty well for a bigger shoe. I really enjoyed the forefoot rocker. I thought it helps the transitions of the shoe feel a little bit more nimble than what this shoe actually is. I think overall the Brix Glycerin Max is a little bit bulkier than the Asics Superblast 2, but that glide roll rocker, or whatever you want to call it, really helped the shoe kind of pick up the pace a little bit, and it made the bigger shoe feel a little bit more nimble in my opinion. So with the DNA tuned full length midsole, I would say both of the stack heights are around the same, but the Brix Glycerin Max definitely feels a little bit more cushioned. It has that more traditional soft underfoot feel versus the Asics Superblast 2 is a little bit more of a subtle super foam or a subtle foam. It does provide very good stability, and it kind of gives a little bit more bounce back, just a touch more bounce back than the Glycerin Max, but it definitely is a more subdued and more subtle version of a super foam, at least when it comes to underfoot feel. It's not going to be as soft as the Brix Glycerin Max, but I think that this foam and this setup is going to be a little bit more versatile than the Brix Glycerin Max in the way that you can actually pick up the pace in the Superblast 2 a little bit better, and in my opinion, it has a little bit better of a ground ground feel when it comes to picking up the pace as well as longer runs. You're not gonna feel as high up on the Superblast 2, so it's gonna feel a touch more stable as well. So I think that if you really care about the underfoot feel of your shoes, I think the Brooks Glycerin Max is gonna be better if you want a more cushioned and more comfortable ride, like a really soft and cushioned feel. I think it's a personal preference, but if you do prefer a firmer foam, this Superblast 2 is definitely gonna take care of you a lot better. It's gonna not feel as cushioned, and it's gonna feel a little bit more like a daily trainer, but with the benefits of a super foam. So it's gonna feel lighter. It's also gonna still absorb all the impact, and it's still gonna have a little bit of that bounce. So both of these shoes are very versatile, but in my opinion, I think the Superblast 2's midsole is a little bit more versatile if you want to run a little bit faster on your long runs, or if you just want to do a couple tempo workouts, or if you can only take one shoe on vacation. I think that this shoe is a little bit more versatile. Whereas the Brooks Glycerin Max, don't get me wrong, it is very versatile, but it is a bigger shoe, and I think the underfoot feel is just more for people who prefer a softer feel, and maybe bigger runners like myself would enjoy the underfoot feel a little bit more than the Superblast 2. So I think it all comes down to preference. I think that the Brooks Glycerin Max is gonna be a little bit better if you're running, maybe half marathon pace or up. So like half marathon pace, and then it's gonna be great for those long runs if you're not trying to push the pace or you're not having a goal for the long run. Now, if you're a little bit more serious, or you're taking training like very serious, or you have a specific set timeline of what you wanna run or what paces you wanna hit in your long runs, I think that the Superblast 2 is gonna perform a little bit better because, like I said, it is a little bit firmer of a foam. It's gonna give you a little bit more response and a little bit more ground feel, and that really helps, especially in the later miles of a long run. So it's gonna help you kind of hit those paces, as well as it feels just a lot lighter than the Brooks Glycerin Max, in my opinion. Now, I don't know the official weights of both of these shoes, but just holding both of these in my hand, I just feel that the Superblast 2 feels, not even like a fake shoe, but it just feels so light compared to the Brooks Glycerin Max. Now, I wouldn't say that the Brooks Glycerin Max is super heavy by any means. It is definitely a little bit more weighty than the Superblast 2, but it still feels pretty light for such a big shoe. Last but not least, we're gonna talk about the fit as well as the upper. So the Superblast 2 has an engineered kind of woven mesh, and it is a little bit on the thinner side, which I think helps the weight of the shoe, as well as it does have a pretty thin gusseted tongue and a pretty normal heel collar or heel counter. And overall, I would say that the Superblast 2's upper fit really well. I think that it was true to size, and I do have a little bit wider of a foot. Even with the wider foot, it does accommodate that. And when I tie the laces pretty tight, especially with the runner's loop, I have a pretty good fit. Now, I do want to note that I did have some right heel insecurity, I guess, in the Superblast 2. Now, with that insecurity, it did not feel like my heel was coming out of the shoe by any means, and I didn't feel like I wasn't supported in the shoe, but it's just one of those things where it didn't feel like a one-to-one fit, where like it felt like a glove. So I would just say that the Superblast 2's upper was phenomenal, and I really liked that it was a thinner upper. Even though it's not the most breathable, my foot still got a little bit hot in the shoe. I did appreciate that it was a soft material that was on the thinner side. Now, the same cannot be said about the Brooks Glycerin Max, because this shoe is a little bit hotter. The upper kind of feels like a blanket on your foot because it is a pretty thick mesh upper. Now, that's not to say that it's a bad upper whatsoever, but it does not have a gusseted tongue, and I would say that it does fit true to size. It does accommodate wide footers like myself, so if you do have a wider foot, you're gonna be totally fine in the shoe, but I just felt that it didn't feel as premium as the Asics Superblast 2, and I do like that the Superblast 2's upper was on the thinner side, because this mesh is just super thick and the ventilation was just not good in the shoe. So if you run in hot weather or humid conditions, or you just have a sweaty foot, or you have a lot of blisters usually, I don't know if the Brooks Glycerin Max's upper is gonna be for you. Now, it still is a comfortable upper, especially maybe if you're running in really cold weather, you might like the shoe because it'll keep your foot warm. But the upper, other than that, had no problems whatsoever. Like the heel lockdown, I would say is a touch better than the Superblast 2's in my opinion. That's again a very personal fitting thing. Like it could be my foot or my leg shape. But with the runner's loop as well as the non-gusseted tongue, like I felt my foot was secured really well. I would just say that the main downside of the Brooks Glycerin Max's upper is that ventilation is not good at all, and your foot is gonna get pretty hot in these. So overall, which one should you buy? Again, It's a very personal decision. When it comes to a $200 super trainer, I think you guys should definitely try both of these on in store. You know, if you can access a store that has both of these available. I know the Superblast 2 might be a little bit hard to get or maybe hard to find in store, so it could be hard to try these on. But I think that when you're looking at such expensive shoes, it's really important to try them on because you don't know if you're gonna like the feel on foot or not. Like if you do prefer a chunkier shoe, a really well cushioned shoe, and you do prefer a softer feel underfoot, the Brix Glycerin Max is definitely gonna take care of you as long as the upper doesn't bother you where it gets really hot or you really want a thin, snug feeling one-to-one fit upper. The Brix Glycerin Max is definitely gonna take care of you. Now, if you do want, like I said, to pick up the pace or you want a very versatile shoe for $200 and you prefer a lighter shoe, the Superblast 2 is definitely gonna take care of you, and I think you can't go wrong with the Superblast 2 for those reasons. Now, which one do I prefer? Honestly, I wish I could kind of combine the best attributes of both of these shoes and make them into one. Like if I could take kind of, the outsole I think is kind of a toss-up. I think they're both pretty similar. But if I could take the Brix Glycerin Max's cushion and then combine it with the Superblast 2's upper, I think that that would be my ideal shoe just because I do prefer a little bit softer of a feel. And also in the Glycerin Max 2, when I was running over 10 miles, I felt that the foam didn't get as soft, or it wasn't as soft. It started to compress a little bit and I got a little bit of ground feel, which I did mention in my review. With that being said, I think that that is enough for me at least to combine with the Superblast 2's upper, which I really liked. It was super lightweight, very thin, and it had a little bit better breathability with that gusseted tongue. And I think both of them combined would have been my perfect $200 shoe. But since we can only pick one, I think since I am a bigger guy, I do prefer the feel of the Brix Glycerin Maxes, but I think the versatility of the Superblast 2 just can't really be beat, which I think is why it's such a popular shoe on the market. So yeah, that's gonna pretty much wrap up my comparison. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below if you prefer one or the other. I know in the comment section down below in some of my other videos, you guys were talking a little bit about some of you guys having both of the shoes. So I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. Let me know if you guys have also had similar experiences in both of these shoes, or if you have one, let me know so that maybe other people looking through the comments can also get a little bit of extra insight. So that's gonna pretty much wrap up my review / comparison. Thank you guys so much for watching and stay tuned for future videos on running shoes and running. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for your support and thank you for watching.